This video is sponsored by the airline project NextGen. As we all know, Concorde was only ever purchased by British Airways and Air France, but many other airlines had an interest in the project, and 18 carriers placed options for the supersonic jet. Qantas was amongst these, with options for 4 jets, but things changed and Qantas never took delivery. It was back in the 1960s when Qantas had a keen interest in supersonic travel, placing 4 options for Concorde in March 1964. In the US, Boeing had its own supersonic transport project, the 2707. Qantas had also placed options for 6 of these aircraft. Qantas planned to operate Concorde on its flagship Sydney to London Kangaroo route. This would have been an impressive 13.5-hour flight with refueling stops in Darwin, Singapore, Calcutta, Karachi and Cairo. Our initial concept for a supersonic service on the Kangaroo route had customers eating breakfast shortly after leaving Sydney and arriving at lunchtime in London, all on the same day. Qantas. This video is sponsored by the airline project NextGen, an exciting new hyper-realistic airline simulation game that allows you to build your business with real-world factors in mind. Starting an airline in the 1940s, the technology and political boundaries will be accurate for the time period and will adjust as you move forward. This game is so realistic that you can choose to work within limitations such as airport curfews and noise limits, ETOPS regulations, and freedoms of the air. Full control over your airline includes route planning and aircraft scheduling, right down to the type of engines you want for your Boeing 747 or Airbus A330. The Simple Flying team is thrilled to partner with this crowdfunding campaign, and we hope you'll join us in backing this game. Support this great project and get your own digital copy for as little as €15 by clicking the link below. Of course, it was not just London that could benefit from this. Flights to Auckland could take less than an hour and only around 3 hours to get over to Singapore from Sydney. In the end, Qantas would never take its Concorde options, and its Boeing 2707 options were lost when the program was cancelled. Qantas, of course, was not the only airline to cancel options. 18 airlines placed options for almost 100 aircraft. All but British Airways, BOAC at the time, and Air France cancelled them. This was not an instant decision for Qantas, and it was not until June 1973 that the airline cancelled its options and dropped its supersonic plans. This was not through a lack of effort from Concorde's manufacturers. The aircraft even flew to Sydney, and there were many attempts to convince Qantas of its potential, including its ability to operate alongside slower, higher-capacity aircraft. There were various factors involved in Qantas's decision to drop Concorde. Delays and development issues hurt confidence in the program. The US SST project was cancelled amidst rising costs, and Concorde ran significantly over budget with added concern over the final price and operating expense for airlines. Sonic boom impact and environmental concerns were just as much of a concern as they would be today. There were early issues in the US with this, resulting in restrictions at JFK and other overland routes. Qantas was also concerned about noise pollution at Australian airports and the impact of high-altitude flights on the ozone layer. There was also uncertainty about passenger demand. To make Concorde a success, passengers had to pay a premium for the experience. In fact, Qantas's CEO at the time questioned whether passengers would, quote, fancy flying to Europe in something the size of a London tube train carriage. With only 4 aircraft, Qantas would likely only be able to serve the Sydney to London route 3 times a week. By the early 1970s, daily flights were already on offer. The time saving on Concorde may have been significant, but the lack of frequency would offset this to some extent. The final straw came following concerns that a fully loaded aircraft would not be able to fly between Sydney and Singapore without refueling. According to website Heritage Concorde, engineers insisted that Concorde would offer a range of 4,000 miles, but Qantas was concerned about this in practice with the 3,939-mile route. Ultimately, new possibilities were offered by high-capacity aircraft like the 747. Instead of focusing on premium travel at high speed and high cost, Qantas would concentrate instead on lowering prices through scale. The 747 changed how airlines operated, and it would end up serving Qantas well, operating for nearly 50 years. What do you think about Qantas's supersonic ambitions? Would it have made sense for it to operate Concorde? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Did you know that we publish over 175 stories every single week on simpleflying.com? Be sure to check the link in the description for more great stories just like this. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe before you go.